And with you, the viewers, now is the time to call and make that pledge of support. 1-800-236-3636.
Thank you for your call. It's really great to hear this great response. You talked earlier about that sort of the Leckrone family band and that sort of circle and circle. And I know like tonight is a night where just the whole state, we really feel connected and all centered around you.
Well, there's a lot of people involved. There's a guy here at Public Television named John Gerbic, who's not only responsible for what you see on the screen, but for a lot of things we were able to plan to do in a production standpoint. And I personally want to thank John, and I know you do too, for everything that he's done for Public Television and for this show.
Well, on a show like this, it's John, it's a crew of, about 20 people. And what I loved also being about the concert is watch how hard they work.
That's right.
And how joyful they are in it. No matter how late this concert goes, no matter how long those days are, it's just they're so exuberant. And I hope you see that in the programs. You may not notice that, but there's a lot of work and a lot of people contributing, connected to your legacy. In fact, before your time here, we got a call earlier.
Yeah, there was a before my time.
Yes.
We had a call from one of the former drum majors, like it was in 48 through 50 in there someplace, and that's great. It's always great to hear from those alumni that are still very active in what the music scene is.
And you often mention your predecessor, as a legacy that you continue.
Ray Dvorak was part of, he gave me a great gift of ideas, and the legacy informed me about what it was here at Wisconsin, and I've tried to carry on what Ray gave me.
Thank you, Mike. The phone number to call is 800-236-3636.
And to keep the music going and the legacy going, we've got some wonderful thank you gifts. Because you will not be able to see, have not been able to see tonight, the fifth quarter with Tequila and Swingtown and the Chicken Dance, and you've said it all, you'll have to get our DVD at $10 a month. It's a wonderful opportunity for you. And you have that as a one-time $120. At $12 a month, you can get 2 of the DVDs. This is the opportunity at $144 one time, where you can get 2 DVDs to keep, to share, to enjoy. And that's what it's all about, enjoying the music. $15 a month, $180, you get the Mike Leckrone bobblehead. That plays on Wisconsin. And at $20 a month, you get the bobblehead and the 2 DVDs. It's the whole package. And that's $240. We know these are important to you. People have been calling up and saying, I want them all. And that is fantastic because we will not be selling, you'll not find the DVD anywhere online. It is only available through Wisconsin Public Television, and tonight's the night to get it. So why don't you give us a call at 1-800-236-3636 so that you can enjoy the band at your own pleasure all the time. But remember, it starts with your phone call, 1-800-236-3636.
It takes a lot of people to put on a concert like that Varsity Band concert, and it takes a lot of people to put on a pledge drive like the one that you are joining us for right now. I actually want to call out some of the volunteers and the donors who have made this experience tonight possible. A lot of volunteers here on the phones have been enjoying donated food during this pledge drive, and I want to especially call out Imperial Garden, Willie Street Co-op, and Wisconsin Union Catering. And actually, Wisconsin Union Catering was tonight. I can personally attest I ate a few too many of their sandwiches tonight because they were really good. Also, of course, want to thank the volunteers who you've been talking to. We have in the room right now a whole bunch of UW Band alumni, but I also have on my list here Memorial High School, Spartan Youth Service. That's how I got my start with Wisconsin Public Television volunteering. Glad to see them on the list here, as well as the University League. So thank you to all of those people, and thank you to you for making that pledge of support. 1-800-236-3636.
So we're going to invoke the band here, and they're going to do something for us, and I think folks saw on Saturday night, and that is for all of us in Wisconsin. So there's a clip here. Are you ready to play that? Let's play that. And we love you, seniors, and we'll be true when you're not with us. We're blue. Oh, seniors, we love you. We love you, Otto. Oh, yes, we do. We love you, Otto, and we'll be true. always.
Very special.
We'll be true. We will be true.
Thank you, John.
Thank you. Thanks for everybody. They said we could talk during that, but I couldn't. Well, it was really a great night, and thank you for joining us. We have more work to do.
Right.
We're not saying goodbye, and thank everybody for supporting Wisconsin Public Television. What a great night. Thanks.
Thanks, John.
Everyone has their own definition of what a supper club is.
It's a from-scratch restaurant.
The Supper Club is a place where we all gather.
A unique Wisconsin dining experience.
There are certain key parts to any supper club experience.
Don't you want to go find out why a restaurant's been open for over 50 years?
Old Fashioned, the story of the Wisconsin Supper Club. Next, only on Wisconsin Public Television. You're watching Wisconsin Public Television. The following program is an encore presentation. To pledge your support, call us at 800-236-3636 or visit us online at wpt.org.
I had never heard of a supper club because we don't have them anywhere that I've ever lived. And so she was telling me about the supper clubs. Was your first job was in a supper club. Yeah. And I was just like, well, I'm sorry, what is that? Like, what's a supper what? Like, you mean a restaurant?
Yeah.
No, a supper club.
Yeah. It's these places and they're kind of dark without windows and they're lowly lit. And I was like, there's things called relish dishes.
Well, and none of that makes any sense.
Yeah.
But then you come here and you're like, oh, that's exactly what you described.
Yeah. And if any of those things were taken out of this context, it would be really weird.
No, but it totally works. Like, it all works.
Yeah.
Somehow it is perfect.
Yeah.
And you come in and it's this fully formed thing that you get to be a part of, and it's really cool.
The definition of supper club sometimes does come up over the bar. They kind of poke their head through the front door and wonder what a club is and think maybe you perhaps have to have a membership. Of course, that's not true.
It's a unique kind of restaurant, and in its Wisconsin form, it's also very unique.
Everyone has their own definition of what a supper club is, but there are certain key parts to any supper club experience. Supper clubs are rural places, it's family-owned business.
It has a bar and a dining room. That's a very specific part of supper clubs. It's a dinner place, not a lunch or breakfast place. It's usually dinner only. Usually located in either the Main Street area of a town or maybe near a lake, some kind of nice setting like that.
Tucked away somewhere and you see the neon lights from far away.
You walk in the door, past hostess, put your name in, you head right for the bar and order a brandy old-fashioned sweet.
They have simple menus that are very predictable. It serves a relish dish before the meal. People drink before and after dinner drinks there.
A supper club is a good place to come that has some ambience and really good food.
The supper club is a nice place where you are dining, not just eating at a fast restaurant, but dining with tablecloth and napkins, and I believe in that.
A supper club traditionally is a venue that has dining and entertainment, whether it be dancing, live music.
It does have a family feel to it. So whole families can go, or adults can go, or friends can go together. It's very much a place where regulars go.
You don't go to a supper club, quick wolf down some food and go on somewhere else. The supper club is somewhere where you linger and you spend some time. That's why the social dimension of supper clubs is such an important attribute of defining what they are.
You go into a place that has its own unique decor and personality, you're going to see maybe a similar offering, but yet done in that particular restaurant's version of how they want it done. You knew what to expect, but yet it was unique to the owner. And you could always, again, just expect great hospitality, just leaving feeling that you had been welcomed, appreciated, satiated, and you're ready to go home and relax with a smile on your face.
Wisconsin is an amazing state. And I think one of the things that makes Wisconsin a very distinctive place is its distinctive geography. One part of the state is quite different from another part. You have the wooded northern Wisconsin, you have the Kettle Moraine on the east side of the state, you have the sand flats in the middle of the state, the driftless area in the west, and all of that affects the way people live. You layer on top of that the various ethnic groups that have lived in Wisconsin. At the end of the 19th century, Wisconsin is the most ethnically diverse place in the country, and each one of those ethnic groups came, settled in their own enclave, brought their own cultures and their own traditions, and those traditions have slowly melded together into what we consider to be Wisconsin culture today. So the beer, brats, and cheese stereotype of Wisconsin life is based on this melding of all these different cultural traditions. The Supper Club is one of those. The Supper Club is a very distinctive Wisconsin building. People who grow up in Wisconsin think supper clubs are everywhere, and they realize that once you pass the borders, you are no longer in supper club land. It's a very distinctive Wisconsin thing. It says a lot about the Wisconsin experience.
While the supper club's kind of a Midwestern phenomenon, in Wisconsin it just seems to have taken hold and survived quite well. If you Google supper club and you compare it state by state, you'll just see that there's hundreds more in Wisconsin with supper club in their name, and that doesn't even account for the ones with just club in their name. It's just kind of a crazy phenomenon. The supper club was invented by a Wisconsinite, except in Beverly Hills, California. He created kind of the prime rib Yorkshire pudding menu and was really kind of credited with the idea of pairing fine dining with entertainment.
He invented the doggy bag. His theory was that people might be embarrassed to be served too large of a portion of food, although they may want more food than they're willing to admit. So he gave a doggy bag along. In theory, you could bring that steak home to your dog, though most people ended up eating their whole steak. Lawrence Frank's idea spread out of California and really took root in Wisconsin in the time period just prior to World War II and especially after World War II. The term supper club came to be associated with these restaurants because they borrowed that term from the 19th century term for a private eating club to convey that sense of elegance, sophistication that was important to establishing supper clubs as being distinct from other kinds of eating places. There were a number of reasons why it caught on so well in Wisconsin. There was already a tradition in Wisconsin of going out into the countryside to drink.
Wisconsin didn't abide by prohibition. The federal agent that was here basically said this was the land of the wets and that people drank here freely and without care, essentially. Senator John Blaine of Wisconsin introduced repeal in 1933. The model had already sort of been set up in Wisconsin vacation areas and in sort of these log cabin chicken shacks and kind of roadhouses that were in Wisconsin.
They located out in the country to be outside of the eye of the law. Many of those roadhouses evolved to include dance halls. After World War II, dance hall craze got a lot less so because people are buying phonographs and their own records. Television is coming in. So some of these roadhouses converted their dance halls to dining halls and they became supper clubs. Before Prohibition, bars were very male spaces. Self-respecting women didn't go to taverns because many taverns were brothels or were associated with prostitutes. When the tavern comes back following the repeal of Prohibition, women come to the tavern yet, but women aren't really comfortable at taverns, and some taverns weren't comfortable with having women clientele. Some taverns banned women from the bars even after Prohibition. The first real democratic place for women was the supper club. They become places that are okay for women to drink because they're not really bars. They're restaurants that have a bar attached to them. And because of that, women feel comfortable in coming to a bar in a supper club. So supper clubs are really one of the first places that are completely gender neutral, where it's just as common to see a woman sitting at the bar as it is to see a man sitting at the bar. And it helped to break down some of those stereotypical attitudes about women and drinking that existed before Prohibition.
Another possible reason that supper clubs really are so popular in the state has to do with something called Gemütlichkeit. It's a term that's hard to describe in one word. It means a variety of things. It means good fellowship, good community, and good conversation, kind of a congeniality all around the table, all around the concepts of food and drink. It's an aspect of German culture, and because we've had so much German immigration here and there's so much German influence here, that is probably the origin of it there. It's really not so much about the drinking and the eating, but those things are part of what is the community, the aspect of coming together, of enjoying each other's company, and sitting down, even if you're all around the state at different supper clubs, and enjoying the same meal and the same time together.
We came here and we were almost bowled over by the friendly attitude, the embrace of customer service, how they made us feel so comfortable. And we have said every time we eat dinner here, we're having dinner at our kitchen table, but we don't have to clean it up. We sit here and it's not unusual for somebody on the other side to yell at us, "How's the soup tonight?" We don't know them at all, but we let them know how the soup is tonight. People feel comfortable. People feel a sense of community. You're not eating amongst a bunch of strangers.
My name is Steve Krabby, and it's my wife Sherry, and we own Krabby's Country Club in Seymour, Wisconsin. We bought our supper club in 1980. I always wanted to be in business, and there was a supper club in town that was for sale, and we were able to purchase that. It was a good fit at the time and turned out to be a love that we've got today yet for it. We really enjoy the supper club business because it's not like a bar. It's a family operation. We're having people come to our dinner table and enjoy a nice meal with us. They're coming to our house. That's the big thing, and they're our friends. Truly, in our kitchen, it's like they come in our kitchen in our house. They just walk in and say, "Hi, how you doing?" More people go through her kitchen than the entrance a lot of times because our customers are our friends, and they always want to say hello to her.
A lot of times I'm a little too busy, but I try to make time to talk, and they know all the waitresses. So they'll talk to the waitresses, or, and then they'll kind of look at me and say, "How are you doing tonight?" "Oh, really good, great, wonderful."
She'd be upset if certain people didn't poke their head and say hello. People that like the supper club atmosphere will drive a long way for it. We do ourselves on our night off. We're not afraid to drive an hour, hour and a half if there's a place that we heard was really neat. I have customers from Fond du Lac that still drive up here just for dinner. They want to try a new place. Even though it's old, they want to try a new place that they heard about.
Without the automobile, there would not be a supper club. The history of the two of them are tied together. Car culture was a big part of supper clubs because a supper club was a destination point for people who were traveling by automobile. The supper club was the culinary equivalent of the Sunday drive, where you could go out for a ride in your car, end up at a destination that was worth going to. So the journey was a part of the fun. That's one of the reasons why supper clubs were located in rural areas, was to give people the experience of traveling. Wisconsin had the largest amount of paved rural roads in the country because Wisconsin farmers needed to get their milk out to market in any weather. Because of this extensive network of paved roads, Wisconsin was a great place for the supper club because it was easy to get out in the countryside, and almost any rural location along a road could be a place where a supper club could flourish. They understood that their clientele were coming by automobile, so a lot of supper clubs were designed to exploit that as well. They used flamboyant, exotic designs that were meant to be read from the road at a high rate of speed by people traveling by on the highways of Wisconsin.
My grandparents literally would travel hundreds of miles to go to a supper club. Like, they would make it an all-day event.
Drove me an hour and a half when I was starving to go to a particular
My
supper
mom did,
club.
yeah. She was like, we're going to this
like
supper
we
club.
passed 3 or 4 supper clubs at least.
Yeah,
and each
to get
one
to a
like I
certain
was
supper
like
club.
getting closer to fainting, and she's like, "No, we've got to go." Like I don't even remember which one it was, but yeah, it was good.
So I feel like I'm carrying on my grandparents' tradition of going to supper
You are.
clubs because it's just, I guess it's something that our family does.
That's what you do.
We appreciate the supper club.
Every building is built of a time and a place, and it represents a certain moment in time. People build the way they do because it represents something that's important to them. And you can see that history in supper clubs as well. The first supper clubs tended to be rather tavern-like in their appearance because they were growing out of that roadhouse tradition. But when people started building specific buildings as supper clubs, there were a couple of different themes that they picked up on. One of the themes was a very exotic appearance that related to the adventure of travel and the adventure of eating out. So they would pick themes that were popular in American culture and history. In northern Wisconsin, you saw a lot of supper clubs that were rustic in design, that used log construction, that were picking up on Native American motifs or folklore of the North Woods. There were supper clubs that had exotic, flamboyant appearances, like the Pyramid Supper Club. Supper clubs that looked like southern plantations that were trying to pick up on the southern hospitality. There were supper clubs that were designed to look consciously like people's houses, to give that impression that the supper club was your home away from home, that it was a family-oriented place, that it embodied those simple domestic values of that time period.
When you talk about the drinks that are served in a supper club, the old-fashioned is by far the signature drink of an old-fashioned supper club.
I used to make brandy old-fashioned sweet in my sleep. I'd be dreaming about them for years.
Old fashions, they're a drink, but it's a recipe. It's not just splash two things together. It's actually a recipe like food, like dishes, and like these sort of iconic or, really important other foodways in the state. There's a specific way that you make it. There's a lot of variations from family to family. There's variations from bar to bar, from supper club to supper club.
We start with an old-fashioned glass and put a little bit of simple syrup that we make ourselves, and there, your D'Agostino bitters. And then a small piece of orange, and it's usually regular ones with charged water or seltzer. Could be sweet with 7-Up. Some people have it with water, sour. And we muddle the orange and the simple syrup and the bitters together, and you notice it kind of foams up. Ice, 2 shots of brandy. Tap a little more charged water, seltzer water. As you put 2 sticks in, and the idea with the old-fashioned is that you kind of stir the simple syrup that's underneath it to make it as sweet as you want it.
I'll have an old-fashioned.
If Wisconsin were to have a state drink, it would surely be the old-fashioned. The drink itself has very long roots. The old-fashioned is among the first American cocktails. It goes back to the 1700s, comes from a family of drinks that were known as bitter slings. The old-fashioned in the 19th century was not a sweet drink, and it wasn't a fruity drink. The brandy old-fashioned that we drink today was a consequence of the speakeasies. During Prohibition, people began drinking sweet cocktails because the alcohol they were buying was rot gut liquor and tasted awful. So by adding soda to the liquor, it made it sweeter and it made it more palatable. So the old-fashioned becomes sweet drink as a result of Prohibition, and they began putting soda, maraschino cherry, orange slices. It became much more the drink that today people consider to be old fashions.
Only in Wisconsin do they know what an old fashioned is.
And brandy. If you go to another state, you can be in Florida or something and ask for a brandy Manhattan or a brandy old fashioned, and whoever's there, if they're of any age, they'll say, I bet you're from Wisconsin, because that's the only place that has it.
Hi, I'm John Muskowski, Director of Wisconsin Public Television. We're watching Old Fashioned, the story of Wisconsin supper clubs, a new program for Wisconsin Public Television. This wonderful travel through the state, celebrating this wonderful tradition. I love those conversations and the family memories. I think they spark those memories in all of us of getting out somewhere in the car and going to these wonderful places. The program will continue, and right now we'd like to invite you to support Wisconsin Public Television with your pledge, with your phone call to 800-236-3636. This is viewer-supported television, and we have the greatest supper club book ever. With a gift of $7 a month, $8 a month, we have Wisconsin Supper Club's cookbook. So that book, and Eric will tell you a little bit more about it, has great destinations, places that you'll want to find in Wisconsin, and great recipes. So it has everything. This is a wonderful tradition we have in celebrating Wisconsin. It will continue in a few minutes, and we'd love to invite you to call 1-800-236-3636 with your pledge.
Thanks, John. And when you do call with that pledge of support right now, as John mentioned, we have a number of great thank you gifts, including a DVD of this wonderful film that you're watching tonight at the $7 monthly level, giving level, or a one-time gift of $84. We'll send you the DVD that you're enjoying tonight so that you can go and explore all of the great supper clubs that you're seeing on the program tonight. At the $8 monthly level, we'll send you the book that John was telling you about. It's the Wisconsin Supper Club Cookbook. But it's more than just a cookbook. It's a travel guide also to many of the wonderful supper clubs across the state, and then an opportunity for you to try your own hand at some of those delicacies that you just love that are so specific to these wonderful restaurants. That's at the $8 monthly level. Or at the $12 monthly level, we'll send you the DVD of the film that you're watching tonight, the book, and another DVD of another program, Supper Clubs 101. So if you're the Supper Club super fan, you're going to want to give your gift at that level right now. But pledge right now. Call in your support. Our volunteers are waiting for your call. 1-800-236-3636.
I'm Linda Berman, a volunteer here at Wisconsin Public Television, and I am thrilled with this program. It's just, oh wait, I was there. Oh, I'd like to go there. It's like, this is what I want to do. And even this cookbook is fantastic, and I'm a real foodie. But when you realize that Luck, Wisconsin, which I love, Luck, Wisconsin, was home to Dunkin' Yo-Yo, that is in here. But yes, so are the recipes for the supper clubs around there, the Calderwood Supper Club. So it's an opportunity for you to explore your state, but also explore your culinary ideas through the supper club food. Now, Wisconsin, supper clubs, brandy old fashions, we got it. And the way to continue enjoying this as well as the food in here is to give us a call and become a supporter of Wisconsin Public Television at 1-800-236-3636.
Well, thanks for your phone call and thanks for your pledge. Why don't you join in with your pledge to 800-236-3636. One of the commitments that we have in Wisconsin is to Wisconsin history, and I'd like to introduce you to Holly DeRuyter. Holly is the producer of Old Fashioned, which we're enjoying tonight, and the newest member of our history team.
Yes, I'm really happy to be a new member of Wisconsin Public Television.
So tell us about the inspiration for the show.
So I'm from Green Bay, Wisconsin, and I went to school in Chicago, and I didn't think much was going to change because we're still in the Midwest. And when I got down there, no one was having fish fries, and Chicago's known for its dining scene, but there were no supper clubs. So I'd come back home here to Wisconsin, and I would tell my friends about the place where there was no fish fries and no brandy, and my wheels started to turn, and supper clubs are a very beautiful visual place. So I thought that would make a great documentary. So I didn't have a car at the time, so I put the ID in the back of my head, and once I got access to a car and some friends with some free times and equipment, we hit the road and we started capturing the story.
Well, it's a wonderful show. We will continue. Old Fashioned, the story of Wisconsin supper clubs. Why don't you join us with your pledge supporting Wisconsin programs on Wisconsin Public Television?
That's right, and when you do call, we'll send you a number of great thank you gifts starting at the $7 monthly giving level. We'll send you Old Fashioned, the program that you're watching tonight, on DVD so that you can enjoy it over and over again, because I'm sure that there's been a few moments here where you're like, wait, what was that? I need to go to that restaurant. Get that DVD at the $7 giving level. At the $8 level, monthly giving level, we'll send you the Wisconsin Supper Club Cookbook, your opportunity to try your own hand at some of your favorite Supper Club delicacies. And don't forget, at the $12 monthly level, we'll send you the DVD, the book, and the additional DVD, Supper Club 101. So once you call right now, these gifts are also available online at WPT.org. Call, pledge your support. We're about to go back to the show.
Supper clubs have across the state a somewhat limited and very special menu. There are certain things that you will find on every supper club menu, even though there are variations. There are very specific types of things that constitute a supper club menu. You usually will get a relish tray to start off your meal with some bread. Sometimes you don't get the relish tray, but typically at supper clubs, what will come out is either some kind of a cheese spread with crackers. Sometimes it'll be a whole Lazy Susan of choices, like a noodle salad and pickles, radishes, carrots, olives, that sort of thing. And again, the cheese spread. If they don't serve a relish tray, there's almost always a bread and butter that comes out first. Usually choice is super salad, a very simple salad with dressings. Sometimes there is a salad bar, which is really kind of a combination of the relish tray and the salad course together. There's always steaks on the menu, usually prime rib. There's fish of some kind. Sometimes it's local choices like a walleye or bluegill or perch. There's shrimp or lobster, or sometimes both. Usually some kind of oven roasted or broasted chicken. Sometimes there might be duck on the menu, sometimes there might be pork chops, sometimes even a ham slice or something, but typically it's the steaks, ribs, fish, and chicken. You will get a choice of potato with the main course. Could be baked, and not so often mashed, but hash browns, American fries, and sometimes French fries, but there's always a choice. To finish the meal, though this is not an automatic part of the meal, would be dessert, and the dessert menu is very limited, and sometimes ice cream drinks, like a grasshopper or a golden Cadillac or the pink squirrel, made with ice cream and liquor. And then the drinks are also sort of part of the supper club menu.
I'm not supposed to tell this, but I'm gonna. I know for a fact that this supper club does little favors for its regular customers. Like, one customer needs a heart-healthy diet. All right, we're gonna use no salt butter. And they get to know their customers, and they're very willing to accommodate their needs to keep them returning.
As much as we stay to tradition, times have changed in terms of diets. And so you have to have some heart-healthy dining, something for a vegetarian. Gluten-free is an issue these days. You have to roll with those changes.
Supper clubs will have specials typically, and Friday night it's always the fish fry, Saturday night it's the prime rib, and Sunday sometimes it's like a chicken dinner, maybe ribs on Tuesday or Wednesday, but always the fish fry on Friday nights.
On a Friday night, we serve quite a bit of fish.
A lot of my older customers, it doesn't pay to show them anything else. They have fish on Friday and that's it.
Typical fish fry menu would be, usually it's coleslaw for the salad version of it, and then the deep fried fish, and then some kind of potato. There really is no state that I know of, or have read of, or have heard of, where pretty much everybody knows and goes to fish fries. And they go often, they go every Friday night.
This area is fish fry crazy. It's clearly still our biggest night of the week. It's not unusual in the summertime to have people outside actually having somewhat of a tailgate party. Whether they're throwing a Frisbee or enjoying a cocktail on a picnic table under the umbrella, just waiting in line to get their table. And sometimes waits can extend past an hour, and people are still content with that. If you don't do a good Friday night fish fry business, especially in this neck of the woods, it's going to be tough for you to survive.
Fish fry is so popular in the state for a lot of reasons. It isn't just an ethnic tradition. It isn't just a Catholic tradition. It isn't just a geographic tradition. It's all of the above sort of thing. First of all, Wisconsin geographically is the perfect place for fish. The state is basically surrounded almost completely by water. The Great Lakes, the Mississippi River. We have all kinds of thousands and thousands of rivers and lakes within the state boundaries. So everybody knows water here and everybody eats fish here and has way back to the original pre-Wisconsinites, the Indian tribes who lived here, and also to the Europeans who came, and to many of the other groups that have been continuing to come up right up into contemporary times. So we have that geographic, we have that cultural kind of connection, but we are also a Catholic state. Catholics, of course, until the early 60s, were not allowed to eat meat on Fridays. And so we have been historically very used to eating fish on Fridays. Then there was this thing called Prohibition that happened, and that really is what helped formulate the fish fry into the tradition that we know it today. Bar owners needed a way to bring customers in, so what they did is they knew that there was this cheap, abundant source of food, fish, so they started to offer very cheap or free lunches or meals of fish, and they would fry it because that was a cheap way to cook it, and then they would serve it to customers to lure them in, and then also sell them liquor under the table. It did lure people in. It also lured whole families in, partly because Friday typically was payday. And so these large, many of them Catholic families in Wisconsin had an inexpensive way to feed the whole family on a day when they were feeling flush. Fish fries then kind of developed even after Prohibition into this tradition. They took hold and people got used to going out on Friday nights with their family. It developed as an intergenerational kind of thing.
I'm from Florida, so I'd never really, done a fish fry or anything before I came up here. And with us being from Florida, you'd think that we'd have fish fries all over the place. There's absolutely nothing like this where we can go and just have a family fish fry and everything. If you want something, you've got to go to the big chain restaurants.
Growing up here in Wisconsin, we always went for Friday fish fries. Spending time with family is the biggest reason why we come up here. It's nice to be able to bring the kids along with us, and we can just sit and enjoy our time. We can talk, laugh, have fun, and still have delicious food.
We here at the Supper Club like to make as much as we can from scratch. That's what's missing in the chain restaurants. Everything is prepackaged, everything is brought in, everything is weighed and measured. I just always like cooking. I don't like to clean up, but I like to cook.
My dad always said, never stop using the best quality you can buy. Don't ever buy mediocre stuff. And we never did. And I don't, because I don't believe in that. My help laugh at me. They think I'm old-fashioned. So be it. I don't care.
To me, everything we make homemade is just better. We know what we're putting in it. We're not putting a bunch of preservatives in it. We're making smaller batches. We're using them up in a day or so, and then we make it again.
It's a from-scratch restaurant, and a lot of supper clubs are, and that's one of the things that sets them apart. Everything from scratch. We make all our salad dressings. All our soups are homemade. We actually age and cut our own meat. We use the best quality produce that we can get. Anything that comes in the door is top shelf quality and comes in its rawest material state.
In my case, many of the recipes came with the building when I bought them. So the barbecue rib sauce, the Friday fish fry, how we bake the raisin nut bread. All those recipes were passed on right down to the potato salad. Were passed on to us, and those are the things that you don't mess with. You don't change something that works, and that's why people keep coming back and returning.
In the old days, you used to have a good cook that was with you for years and years and years, and they did a good job. I interviewed hundreds of different cooks when we were hiring for here, and they didn't know how to make sauces. They didn't know how to make a roux. You know, they just open a package, and that's how they're taught. And you know, I think that really takes a lot away from it. So.
Homemade food, there's something about it that you can't get any way, shape, or form from something that's frozen and it's warmed up, or a package and you add liquid. Everybody does that already at home now because it's where you're run, so you throw something together. You want something that's like, wow, I can taste that rosemary, I can taste that garlic. And it's like, what is this? Oh, onion powder too? Oh, fantastic. And cooking it nice and slow. And there is a warning. If you, if you have homemade food, it's really hard to go back. Hopefully some of the old-fashioned ones want to stay with home-cooked food from scratch is important to keep the tradition.
When we buy our meats here, it comes right from Green Bay, and we always get the best we can get. We never dicker on price. Because of that, they know, and they take care of us. And if I ever have a problem with any of my steaks, they'll come out and bring us new items, whatever we need to make us happy. It's nice to buy local. They know us personally, and they know what I expect and what I want for my customers. So we buy a lot of groceries right local from, and then some of the farmers markets around here, we buy from them too, just to keep it local.
I have a girl that works for us. She has extra tomatoes, so she brings them in and put them on the salad bar, and everybody loves them. In fact, we just had a lady on Facebook ask what kind of tomatoes they were.
Well, you can't beat it fresh and in season.
Yeah.
We have to use as much as we can.
I love supporting independent, locally owned businesses, whether it be breweries, restaurants, auto repair, you name it. The more local you buy right now, the stronger our nation's going to be.
What makes Ray Radigan's different, maybe a lot of supper clubs different, is everything sourced locally. They tell you where the asparagus came from. They tell you what farm the veal comes from. They tell you what's fresh. Today, there's so much discussion about local sourcing and being natural foods. This is the history of the supper club. People are trying to be what they have been and what they are.
We love supporting things that are high quality and local. There's actually a place only a few blocks from here that makes its own rum, whiskey, and this wonderful honey liqueur. It's actually a little cheaper because they don't have to deal with transportation costs.
Of course, at the bar, you got so many wonderful Wisconsin beers produced, within 50 miles of Madison. There's no reason to look much farther than Wisconsin for some great beers.
Supper clubs are definitely a family business. We have multi-generations from grandma upstairs to our children and soon to be their children working in them. And it's the only way they can operate. People come here to see us and our family. Supper clubs won't operate properly if the owners aren't present. It's just tradition.
It's kind of like going to your neighbor's house and your neighbor's not there. You don't want to go there.
You can't hire managers and things like that. You can't afford it. Our price structure is low. We don't build in all this stuff for like a chain restaurant would. Now they know if I'm here, they see me, they know Sherry's in the kitchen. And it makes a big difference on how they feel about the whole process.
When he's not here and I'm here, I make sure I tell the bartenders, tell them that I'm still here. Then it's okay.
Some of the older people still feel is that it's not going to be good because the owners aren't there. You still have that.
Exactly. Otherwise they think that we're both out running around, having a good time.
Most of them are around 50 years old. They're probably going on their second or third generation. It keeps it in the family, and there's a little bit more flexibility in that capital investment in starting a restaurant.
We've always had our kids busy and working here as they've been growing up, and our second son, John Lehman, has come back after he graduated from UW-Madison. Sometimes a lot of people wonder why you'd come back to be in a business where you work night and day. And he had some job opportunities, but he chose to come back, and he's been here about 3 years now and is fitting in very well and is enjoying it.
This boy has been in the restaurant with me ever since he's been a baby, and so is my other one. Both of them were raised in the restaurant business. They were always in the kitchen, always in the dining room, in their cribs, so we've always had them here at the restaurant, and they've learned every step of the way with us.
I always looked up to my dad, and when I looked up to him, he was always cooking, and then I always tried to learn what he did. I just loved doing it. It came very easy to me.
He was a baby when we owned our other restaurant. He wouldn't be happy in the kitchen unless he was on my shoulders. So I actually cooked with him 7 nights a week on my shoulders in the kitchen. That's where he wanted to be. So he was on the line with me. He was even very little.
When you walk into a owner-operated restaurant, there's no replacement for the owner not being there. You just get a different feel, a different energy. It shows in the product, the decor, the way you're treated, all the way through. And chain restaurants can't duplicate that. Most of the chain restaurants are not individually owned. So they go through their managers, and you know, they may be there 3, 5, 10 years, but they haven't been there 51 years.
The customers loved it. We would come out and actually talk with everybody, and especially Ray would come because he did most of the cooking. We weren't swamped or anything. He would come out and talk to each person
table.
at the table, and they really liked it because it's like, where do you go? And that you have the owner / manager or cook come out and actually talk with you. And I think that's wonderful.
My dad remembered everybody's name. If you came here and you never came back again until 50 years later, he would know what you had on, if you were married, everything about you. He remembered all of his customers. And that's what they liked about him. And that's what they like about supper clubs.
There's a lot of people that I think sometimes they come in because they enjoy the recognition. There's someone that comes in and you recognize them and they're kind of like, wow, you remember me? And it's like, yeah, I remember you. You know, you were here, you know, a month ago having dinner. You sat at that table over there, and you usually prefer to have a drink first. I think they don't get that personal touch when they go to franchises or other restaurants. At least we try to make that our signature, that personal touch.
The relationship my family has with the Radigan family goes back well before my birth. When I started coming as a kid, Michael was my age, and we'd run around the restaurant together. We grew up together, and Michael's very much like his father was, very friendly, very open, knows what you like. They remember.
It's a great business to be in. It's difficult. You work really hard, but the rewards are just amazing. And I'm not talking monetarily. The satisfaction that you get from owning your own business and being in a business like this, it can't be matched. Bye, guys. Thank you very much. Happy birthday. Take care. Bye.
That was good.
Have a nice day at school tomorrow.
Yeah. We don't have school tomorrow.
Why not?
It's over. It's over, and I love the soup.
My employees here are great. The employees that I have, and you'll see it in most of these mom and pop supper clubs, is what I'd call ours. We're here, you know, we're the mom and the dad, and all the rest of these are our children. They come, and even though some may be older than us, they come, they worked here, their kids have worked here. Now we're getting to where their grandkids are starting to work here. A lot of our employees come from friends of good employees that we have. So we never advertise for any help, and help stays. I would say the average person here is here at least 12 years. That's over the average. So, you know, 2 of them 26 years, 2 of them 23 years. You know, that's unheard of in the chain restaurant business. You're not going to see that. But hometown supper clubs, yes, you have loyal employees that come back and stay with you for years and years.
To me, it never was you're working for me, you're working with me. We used to have good times together, we had parties together, and that's what makes it good. And that's what the customers felt. This is what Supper Club and this is what camaraderie is about.
I've been very blessed here at the Stagecoach in that I've kept the majority of the original core service staff as when I first bought the restaurant. They love all of the customers that come out here. They're very, very good at what they do, and I think they make a nice living. It's very much a family atmosphere.
The reason I've been here for so long is because we have so many customers that have been here longer than I have. People come out here, and even if they don't know anybody, somebody at the bar will start talking to them, and you make friends. It's just a really cozy type of a restaurant. And so people have come here for ever and ever. We've seen kids born and raised here.
Supper Club kind of brings families together. We have a lot of families that come out from the time they're born until into high school. Expose them to some different food besides fast food. They kind of learn how to behave and have a good time, but also enjoy a good dinner and experience of the Supper Club type atmosphere.
We're seeing 3rd and 4th generations that are coming in, and they bring their families, and we'll have tables with 3 generations at the table. Of course, when you grow up going to an establishment, when you move away, you always come back and you go to that establishment again and again and again. So a lot of our business is just repeat customers and their descendants.
They've instilled these supper club values to their children and their grandchildren. It's great to see that.
It's amazing how many customers come in and don't know the person sitting next to them. But my job as a bartender is to get people engaged. So I'll go over and chat with them about how their day is or how the kids are doing. And you can see the person next to them kind of perking up a little bit, and I'll say, well, how are your kids? And next thing you know, those two people are talking, and I can walk away and go talk to somebody else, and I can have the whole bar talking to each other. It gets to where the next time they come in, they'll see them across the bar and they'll wave, hey, how have you been? I haven't seen you for a week or two. People really enjoy that. They like the fact that they can meet new people. And now when they come to our supper club and they see those same people there that they met 2 weeks ago, they'll go right over and sit down by them and have a nice conversation.
The supper club is akin to a church in that it's kind of a community gathering place. Whether or not you're eating or drinking, it's a place where people meet. It's a place for weddings. It's really central to a lot of communities in Wisconsin, and I think that's really why we have so many and why it survived.
There's a party room behind you, and they make that party room available at no charge for any community organization who needs a meeting spot. I think that is fabulous that they give up their space free of charge for an organization to meet. That's another part of community that they're giving.
I think it's very important to take care of your people. In the community, it's very important for the community. They come back here because they like the individual restaurants and they like the people who run them, and a lot of times they like the people who serve them.
Since we are a small restaurant and we know most of our customers really well, we get really personable with them, especially toward the end of the night when you can tell jokes and maybe share a cocktail with people. That's part of running a supper club.
On a normal Friday night, what's going to happen is that the door's going to open up and I've got 3 customers that always sit in these 3 spots right here. I can always count on those 3 to be here. If they're not here, we call and find out what's going on or why if somebody's sick, because they're just always here.
I think it's just a wonderful thing that people still have this opportunity in a community like this to mesh and get together, and those people eventually, customers become friends and friends become family here, and it's just kind of, it's really a neat experience, I think.
That's, I guess, what the supper club part means, that it can be a relaxing atmosphere, it can be something where you can join together and be social. And to me, that's what we need today, is social.
We came up here 40 years ago for a summer vacation with our children, and then, of course, found this place and just kind of found our second home.
I mean, you don't eat in a restaurant 3-4 nights every week unless it is a special place. It has been one of the few constants in our life other than our marriage. The people and everybody there are as important to me as the meal.
Everybody's so busy nowadays that they don't take time to enjoy a meal and enjoy the pre and the post of the meal. They want to come in and have that nice meal, but they may want to sit at a noisy bar with 3 or 5 TVs going in the background. But that's what they've been led to believe is how you go out for a nice meal. Yeah, we have 1 TV for a Packer game, but that's all it's on. We encourage them to come out and talk to each other, maybe leave their phone at home or whatever it might be, or turn it off. That type of relaxed dining is starting to be lost in the shuffle of our fast-paced world. They are starting to dwindle.
Mom, pop operations, they're dying out.
In the last 10 or 20 years, there's been a lot of decline. I've seen a lot of closed supper clubs. I've seen a lot of for sale supper clubs.
Now there's a lot of changes. They affect the business because they take from a percent. And they have a huge advertising budget nationwide, and a lot of times people go where they're comfortable with instead of where it's actually more comfortable.
There was a shift in how things went. But I still believe if you do things right, there's a good niche for people that want to go out to dinner. Sometimes you want to jive. It's probably not the words that the young people use. But there's other times you like to be relaxed and be able to talk with each other. So I think there's room for places like this.
I think as people get tired of some of the chain restaurants, hopefully we can see a lot of the younger kids coming back and realizing it's kind of a nice place to eat and the food's really good.
When we talk about going out to dinner together, we talk about going to supper clubs. We don't talk about chains, and it's more about where can we sit and relax and have a drink and talk to each other and see people that we might know. It's more about that. So I pray that supper clubs stay around.
I think they'll be here for always because Wisconsin is special, and a supper club is to Wisconsin what a hot dog stand is Chicago. It's part of the environment, it's part of the world here. I wouldn't know what to do if this place wasn't here. The loss of the supper club, the loss of Ray Radigan's would be like losing a member of my family.
If you're in a new town, don't you want to go find out where the locals go? Find out why a restaurant's been open for over 50 years. There's got to be a reason for that.
Come out and enjoy an old-fashioned supper club and realize the quality of the food and the hospitality that you don't get at a chain restaurant.
Supper Club is a place where we all gather and we all basically are eating together. We may be drinking together too, but it's about being together that's important. We don't mind waiting in line at the Supper Club. We don't mind waiting in line for the fish fry because we're chatting with our neighbors. We're going to a place where we're gonna know somebody. We like to take that night, relax, be together, and eat the same meal together. And whether it's a fish fry on a Friday or a prime rib on a Saturday, we have that strong sense of community and good fellowship around food.
Hi, I'm John Muskowski, Director of Wisconsin Public Television. We're watching Old-Fashioned, story of Wisconsin supper clubs. We are going to continue our supper club focus in a few minutes, but right now we want to invite you to support Wisconsin Public Television with your pledge at 800-236-3636. This is a challenge break, right? Is that right? That means that current members have made a special gift to double your gift right now. We're hoping for 40 calls in these few minutes while we're talking to you. As I said, we have more supper club celebration ahead, but right now with a gift of $7 a month, we have the program DVD, which is such a great program to watch and enjoy and share with folks. We also have this wonderful book that is a great travelogue to great supper clubs in Wisconsin with recipes, and both of those are available with a gift of $12 a month. Please join us right now. Your dollars are doubled when you call 800-236-3636.
That's right. This is the best time to call right now because your pledge amount is doubled thanks to that challenge. And when you do, you also get those great thank you gifts that we were talking about. Starting at the $7 a month level, we will send you the DVD of the program that you're enjoying tonight, Old Fashioned, the story of the Wisconsin Supper Club. At the $8 monthly ongoing giving level, we'll send you this wonderful book, Wisconsin Supper Club Cookbook. It's a part travelogue, part cookbook, all of the things that you love about Wisconsin's great supper clubs in this book. That's at the $8 monthly giving level, or a one-time gift of $96. And at the $12 giving level, monthly giving level, we'll send you the DVD of the program you're watching tonight, the Wisconsin Supper Club Cookbook, and Supper Clubs 101, which we're going to show you a little bit of in just a few minutes. But right now, we're just so glad to hear the phones ringing because each one of those pledges that you're hearing on the phone right now is doubled thanks to this challenge gift or a challenge break. You can be part of it. Call 1-800-236-3636.
And it is a great opportunity to call because, again, it's being matched. When your pledge comes in, it'll be matched by a fund already set, so it's dollar for dollar. Wisconsin Public Television benefits, you benefit. You become the sponsor of these quality programs. Speaking of quality, you heard how these chefs were talking about the quality of their ingredients, of their recipes, and that's a good recipe, is putting you, Wisconsin Public Television, together so you get programs like this. And I know Eric was talking at the $8 a month level, you get the Wisconsin Supper Club cookbook, which really is like a travelogue as well as for recipes. And it's so easy because many of these ingredients you have in your own home. I know that tomorrow night, I think I'm going to make the Calderwood Lodge Supper Clubs in Lux fabulous recipe for their glazed salmon, along with the marinated olives from the Chippewa Inn in Hayward. And of course, what would a supper club be without having their amazing hash browns, which, of course, I'm going to say are fabulous from Toby's. Now, where do you get all this? Wisconsin Public Television. This is our thank you gift to you, but it all begins with your pledge at 1-800-236-3636.
Thanks for your calls. It's great to see the phones ringing. A wonderful response to another wonderful Wisconsin program. I'm here with Holly DeRuyter, who's the producer, and I asked you if I could ask you if you could pick a favorite, and you said, please don't ask me to ask that question. No, that's not
correct.
Right. But you discovered lots of wonderful places.
Yes, we had so many great moments of discovery when we were working on this film. One of my favorites is I went home to visit my parents in Northeast Wisconsin, and they're like, let's go check out this place called Krabby's. And they're like, we think it's a supper club. And I was like, if it's a supper club, I would know about it. And I really was wanting to go to a supper club that night. So they dragged me there, kicking and screaming. I didn't think it was a supper club. I wanted to go to a supper club. We got there. Amazing supper club. You see it featured in the film, a great feeling when you walk in, that feeling of everybody's there together as a family sharing a meal, and that was one of my favorite experiences, not expecting it, and you walk in and it's one of the best.
Yeah, and I think the thing that we talk about that family, because there's a lot of regulars, but as someone who hunts down supper clubs and great places in Wisconsin, it's very welcoming as well. Give us a call with your pledge at 800-236-3636.
Thanks, that's right. We're trying to reach 40 calls during this important challenge break. We're at 16. Your call right now can help us reach that goal at 1-800-236-3636. And when you do call, not only is your gift doubled, we have great thank you gifts starting at the $7 monthly level. We will send you the DVD of the film that you're enjoying tonight. That's a $7 monthly gift or a one-time gift of $84. At the $8 monthly giving level, we'll send you the Wisconsin Supper Club cookbook, part travelogue, all delicious. That's at the $8 monthly giving level. And then at the $12 monthly level, we'll send you the cookbook, we'll send you the DVD of the film you're watching tonight, and a DVD of Supper Clubs 101, another Supper Clubs program that we're going to show a little bit of in just a few minutes. But the important part is that you call right now, have that pledge doubled on this challenge break. 1-800-236-3636.
And we're at 20 pledges. We know we can get our goal of 40. And I just want to remind you that you have the opportunity of becoming a sustainer. How easy is that? You call and say, I'm going to do a sustainer. It's only like $8 a month if you want to get this amazing cookbook. It gets taken out of your checking account or on your credit card. So easy, you don't have to think about it. You just get to enjoy the wonderful thank you gifts and the programs that are on every single day, letting you know that you've become a sponsor. So if you do call at the $8 a month level, I will just tell you at the Tally Ho Supper Club in Hayward, they have a recipe for the pan-seared duck breast appetizer, which is killer. Al Corso of Collins has a recipe for au gratin potatoes. Yes, and then how about a fresh strawberry tort from Clemmy's Wagon Wheel in Howard's Grove? Just a few of these amazing supper clubs. Wisconsin Public Television has taken you to all over Wisconsin to enjoy the best of best, the best supper clubs. Here we are. We're enjoying the recipes. You're enjoying the program. So to show your gratitude, how about becoming a sponsor at 1-800-236-3636?
Thank you for your calls. I'm John, and this is Holly DeRuyter, the producer of the program. One great thing as a viewer of public television, you get to meet all these interesting people. And one of the interesting people that we should talk about is the writer of the book.
Yeah, Mary Bergen. She's a Wisconsin author. She's based in Madison. And I met Mary after my film came out. And after all that research and all that talking to everybody about different supper clubs around the state, Mary's book had supper clubs that I didn't know existed. So even when you think you know of all the supper clubs, there's more to discover, which is always fun, visiting a new supper club. And Mary's book, she did a wonderful job with research and really getting the stories of the supper clubs, along with a great variety of recipes. So I find that I'm turning to this book not just for supper clubs, but for recipes that I can use in my own home.
Well, I think one of the wonderful things about that show is you see that these are local Wisconsin families running these businesses. I was telling you about going to the Idlewild Inn in St. Cloud, Wisconsin. Wonderful place, but it's great to support their business as well. So you can support public television, get the book, find these wonderful places, and support them as well. 800-236-3636 with your pledge.
Thanks, John. That's right. And we're hearing from so many of you right now. That's the great news. Our volunteers are super busy. What that means for you, if you call and stay on the line, because your pledge, stay on the line, your pledge will still count towards this challenge. It'll still be doubled. Our volunteers can't wait to hear from you, so stay on the line at 1-800-236-3636 or go online to WPT.org and click to support there. When you do, your gift is doubled, and we'll send you the great thank you gift. Starting at the $7 monthly level, we'll send you the DVD of the program that you're enjoying tonight, Old Fashioned, the story of the Wisconsin Supper Club. At the $8 level, we'll send you that wonderful cookbook, the Wisconsin Supper Club Cookbook. And at the $12 monthly level, or a one-time gift of $144, we'll send you the DVD of tonight's program, we'll send you the Supper Club Cookbook, and we'll send you the DVD of Supper Club 101, another wonderful program that you're going to get a little sample of in just a couple of minutes. So once you call right now, our volunteers want to hear from you. 1-800-236-3636.
And I want to tempt you with a recipe for grilled walleye with roasted shrimp and garlic pico de gallo from the Aberdeen and Manitowish waters. And then along with that, from the Chippewa Inn in Hayward, how about some marinated olives? These can be yours, recipes. You can be your dinner when you call and pledge your support. We also want to remind you, at every level, you'll get our Airwaves magazine. We have a senior citizen level at $20. The most important thing is you pledge at a level that you feel comfortable with. Our volunteers are ready to talk to you. This is a membership drive. This is our challenge break now to get our members to either join us or renew. So take the opportunity right now when we're on this break to give us a call, 1-800-236-3636, or online at WPT.org, and it will count towards this challenge break.
It's really great to hear the phones ring. We're at 33 towards our goal of 40, so please join us with your call. Dollars are doubled during this break when you call 800-236-3636. We mentioned that the DVD is available, and you talked about a lot of people wanting to watch it and share it with people, so it's a great thing to get. And there's a little extra, a little on the DVD than we're seeing tonight, including a very charming credit scene, lots of wonderful laughs and great Wisconsin humor there. And there's some other things on the DVD as well.
Yep, for sure. When you're watching the film, you have to make sure you watch the credits. There's some really cute things that we really love that people said that we couldn't include in the film, so we threw it in the credits at the end. So you got to check that out. And
then you mentioned one classic supper club that's not in business anymore.
Yep. So we had to cut out the graphic opener, which included a quote from the Turks, which was up in Hayward, and that's no longer with us. But that quote really embodies the whole supper club experience.
So a little bit more on the DVD than you're watching tonight. So it's a great reason to make your gift of $7 a month. Get the DVD, support Wisconsin Public Television, watch this with friends and family. It's a great celebration of Wisconsin.
And this is your last chance during this challenge break to call in and have your pledge doubled. If you're on the line when we go back to the program, your gift will still count towards that challenge, so call in and stay on the line. And when you do, tell our volunteers which thank you gift and giving level you're interested in. Starting at the $7 level, we'll send you that DVD so you can enjoy the full program that you enjoyed tonight. At the $8 monthly giving level, we'll send you the book, the Wisconsin Supper Club Cookbook. And at the $12 monthly level, we'll send you the DVD of the program you watched tonight. We'll send you the cookbook that Linda's been tempting you with great recipes all evening, and the DVD of Supper Clubs 101, which you're going to see a sample of in just a few minutes here on Wisconsin Public Television. So won't you call right now? Help us. We made it past our goal, but you can help us go even further. So call, stay on the line, talk to one of our volunteers, let them know which level you're interested in giving at, let them know which thank you gift you want, and then pledge your support. And thank you for supporting great local programming like this. 1-800-236-3636.
I think that it's just an experience that is like no other.
Oh, I think it's awesome. It's Midwest, definitely Wisconsin. You know, you go out of state and I don't know, you don't find many supper clubs.
We moved out to Wisconsin 12 years ago, and the Wisconsin supper clubs were something that people knew about in New England, and it was something we kind of sought out.
I always like to think, wow, you know, everybody in the state is kind of sitting down with me at the same table. We are Wisconsinites, we go to supper clubs.
They're a culinary tradition in the upper Midwest. Hometown restaurants that serve hearty helpings and carry on Wisconsin heritage. Spend enough time in Wisconsin's 300-plus supper clubs, and you'll learn about the state's history, its culture, and the cutting-edge research preparing its future.
There's a ton of science behind what we eat, especially in a supper club.
They're definitely an experience. Very unique experience.
For half a century, the Hobnob restaurant has stood near Lake Michigan, between the cities of Racine and Kenosha.
Hobnob was built in 1954. The original owner designed the building itself from a restaurant that he saw in California. It is kind of off the beaten path, kind of remote, with a beautiful view and beautiful scenery.
It is an independently owned restaurant, been around for 50 years. A little over the top in the style, somewhat retro, a little Art Deco here and there.
Swanky. So that describes it. That's a good word to call it.
Northwest in the town of Plover is the Sky Club, a family business now run by brothers Eric and Patrick Freund.
The Sky Club is now its 80th year. But back in the 30s, it was an old gas station.
It's been in our family since 1961. We're the third generation to have it.
We've grown up with generations of customers. So not only our regular customers, but also their kids, their kids' kids. I mean, it just goes on.
Oh God, it's like family. There's still people coming out here that when I was a kid that used to come out here.
Continuing north, in the smaller community of Minocqua, is the Red Steer, a restaurant recently bought by Brad and Allison Cusack.
Well, it's been a restaurant for approximately 86 years.
It's been a supper club for at least 50 years, if not more.
It started off as a hunting shack, so it's pretty cool that we get to tell that story when customers come in.
The fireplace is made of Riverstone. There was a woman that came in with her husband and her 2 kids, and she had told me the story of her grandfather and 3 of his friends had gone up to Superior and handpicked the Riverstone, and they came back and built the fireplace.
I would say at least once or twice a week we get customers that come in and say, I've been coming here for 40 years, 30 years, what have you. Thank you so much for taking over the place and keeping the nostalgia going. You know, they just love it.
Each place is unique, but each is considered a supper club. Just what that means depends on whom you ask.
Supper Club, I believe, is a family-run business. It's not a chain, and you have unique family recipes and unique regional recipes to that area.
Well, it's relaxed. Obviously, it's not fast food. You come here to relax. You come here to visit with your friends or your family.
But supper clubs mean so much more than just what is eaten there. There's this sense of specialness
togetherness. Supper clubs are a place where everybody's welcome. Rich, poor, young, old, everybody's welcome.
If you walk in and you see a full bar, a big bar in a supper club with a great bartender behind the bar, that's what supper clubs are, I feel.
There's some traditional things that go along with most supper clubs, several courses.
And that'll be a good start.
Nice, comfortable atmosphere, nothing rushed. Everything made from scratch.
A supper club is sort of, well, it's a club that you can have supper in, but it's kind of like a nice club that you can come in, eat a nice meal. There's live music, and it's just got a very lively atmosphere.
It's an experience rather than just going to get something to eat. It's a 2-hour, 3-hour experience.
University of Wisconsin folklorist Jim Leary says the term supper club was first used to describe informal social groups.
In the early 20th century, before the Volstead Act of 1919 that barred drinking, we know that there were actual clubs where they would go once a month or something. They would go to such and such place to eat.
And then, of course, things changed after that all around food.
Food writer Therese Allen says the term soon took on a different meaning.
Supper clubs really started showing up in the United States as a name of a dining establishment sometime in the 1920s. And they were sort of destination places, and then they really got popular in the 1950s and 60s, and that's the time frame we tend to think of supper clubs. This was the time when supper clubs were really a little bit fancier, when it was not a place to go just for the meal, it was a place to go for a whole evening of entertainment.
Those evenings of entertainment often began with a trip to the bar and a drink that's become a supper club staple.
It's the brandy old-fashioned sweet.
The old fashions, yep. It's a Wisconsin thing, I believe.
Oh yeah, you gotta have an old-fashioned here. Yep, brandy old-fashioned sweet's very popular.
A large part of the 19th century immigration to the state was from Europe, especially Northern Europe. And those countries have sort of a sense of drinking spirits, especially on the sweeter side. And so they brought that tradition here.
Voila, all done.
Lately, another drink has been gaining ground at the bar.
Draft beer is definitely increasing, especially with the boom with all the crafts and small brewers. We actually have 4 brewers in the county.
Supper clubs are seeing and playing into the local foods movement. And the local foods movement is about being proud of what is grown and produced and sold and made locally.
The number of beers made in Wisconsin is growing, and so are the opportunities for budding brewers.
It's important because it's a growth industry, and as you begin to see all those new breweries show up, whether it's brew pubs or whether it's really people are manufacturing beer for packaging, that requires staff.
Jim Steele is a professor of food science at the University of Wisconsin-Madison.
One of the things that we're trying to do is train brewers. We go out into that industry, and we get these students in the brewing program as seniors, and really we're integrating the enzymology, the chemistry, the microbiology, and the engineering principles that they've learned as they come through the program.
University researchers are also providing key insights to those working in the beer industry. They're even investigating one of the key building blocks of beer, yeast.
What we'd like to be able to provide, of course, is a yeast strain to the industry that provides new and unique flavors. There is a strain that we've isolated from Wisconsin that is one of the 2 parents of the lager strain. And that strain we've made beer with now a couple of different times. It's a different, very unique flavor, kind of reminds you of a lambic or something similar. It's not quite like a lambic, but it's more like a lambic than it would be a traditional lager, and a very interesting beer.
Back at the bar, new brews are only part of the picture. And for supper club regulars, the company they keep is even more interesting than the beers they drink.
It comes with the atmosphere of a supper club. It invites you just to sit down and relax and just have a cocktail at your leisure.
You enjoy family time, you enjoy the people you're around.
Don't be in a rush.
Yeah, don't be in a rush. Just do it how it's done. Just eat, I guess.
Make an evening of it.
Yeah.
It's the experience. It's just come in and relax and have a good time.
Still to come,
Medium rare, medium rare.
sizzling steaks and flaky fish take center stage in supper clubs. But before the main course, we'll take a look at 2 Wisconsin traditions that make eating your vegetables oh so easy. After soaking in the character of the place, catching up with a few old friends, and enjoying a trip to the bar, the meal can finally begin. Supper clubs traditionally follow a core menu of a relish tray, salad bar, or other appetizers, a hearty main course, and a sweet dessert if you still have room. But they all share one key ingredient.
If you're going to come to a supper club and you're going to have a 2 to 3 hour experience, I think the food should be fresh.
We cook everything fresh from raw, scratch in a supper club.
We can't just pull something out of the freezer quickly and prepare it or zap it in a microwave. It's all made right here.
Majority of the foods that we do bring in are made here in Wisconsin.
We are a farming state, so we draw from all kinds of different traditions around food. Lots of places still have the quintessential relish tray, just some cut vegetables.
You've got root vegetables or hardy ones that'll keep, like carrots, radishes, and celery.
Not even a dip, just a little salt, to dip the vegetables. And very simple and really good to begin a meal.
The traditional, typical vegetables that you see, for example, the relish tray, those have been an integral part of Wisconsin's ag industry since the very beginning.
As the agriculture industry grew in Wisconsin, so did the size of those relish trays. But how do you show off all those veggies and keep them fresh? The Sky Club claims they found the answer.
The first ever salad bar was created and invented here in Plover at the Sky Club in 1950. Louis and Evelyn Schnicker, the previous owners, had asked Russell Swanson from Swanson Bars to manufacture something that could keep their relish trays and their vegetables cold because they were spoiling. He created this little salad bar. It's nothing like the one we have right now. He kept your carrots and your relishes and your potato salads and coleslaws cold, and I guess what you'd call it ice bath. So that's one thing that our family is extremely proud of, is being the first ever salad bar in the United States.
Today, the salad bar is rooted in abundance and can often resemble an entire meal in and of itself.
We have romaine lettuce, regular chopped lettuce.
We got different pasta salads, giblet mold, and that's an oldie.
Cheese spreads, carrots, cauliflower, creamy cucumbers.
The shredded cheese, onions, bacon bits, Jell-O.
Only in Wisconsin will you see Jell-O on a salad bar.
Oh yeah, we got beets too, pickled beets.
We have the best pickled beets around.
Lots of good stuff.
All of those things have been mainstays, and you'll see those in abundance, and a lot of that is locally produced material.
We've also seen this big trend from farm to table. We actually have our own garden in the back. We do grow some of our vegetables here, and we'll be like a little test market too. We got some of the farmers and distributors, they're dropping off some new styles of potatoes, and they'll say, try these out, and we'd be happy to do that. And then we'll do something, and then we'll give our information back to them.
Sharing field research is at the heart of the University of Wisconsin. Horticulture Department Chair Erwin Goldman develops that research into real-world applications.
We breed new cucumbers for pickling. We breed new carrots for processing. And we also breed beets. And we're studying aspects of those crops that relate to something the consumer can benefit from and also the farmer can benefit from. So for the consumer side, we might be interested in breeding for flavor, or breeding for color, or breeding for shape, something that people can interact with directly. In the case of the farmer, we're interested in developing something that has more yield or disease resistance.
We can buy it fresh from them. And it's nice that we can bring that experience to the customer.
There's a really nice connection between the Supper Club and then Wisconsin ag history.
A state whose ag history is no stranger to the dairy industry and leads the nation in cheese production. John Lucy is a professor of food science and director of the Center for Dairy Research at the University of Wisconsin.
Some of the research that we've done here has led to improvements in cheese flavor. I mean, one of the actual cultures that was discovered here and used for cheese making is now probably used in almost every cheese plant across the U.S.
The industry has seen a shift in new varieties of cheeses and flavors, often making their way into different appetizers at supper clubs.
Dairy's been around forever, but it's always kind of reinventing itself with slightly different flavors, slightly different textures, different diversities, and that's what you see in the supper clubs as it slowly percolates into menus and items that people have.
Steak carpaccio, I make a blue cheese mousse, which is blue cheese and cream cheese mixed, and it's got shallots and garlic. For New Year's Eve, I made a smoked Gouda and Gorgonzola mousse.
Sometimes you get these little pots of cheese mixtures and so forth that can be interesting if they have wine or strange stuff in them.
Well, it's good Wisconsin cheese mixed up and into a spreadable for crackers and stuff. I can tell you exactly how it's made because it's, you know, it's our kind of secret.
What's no secret is the access supper clubs have to fresh cheese.
Our cheese curds are from a cheese factory right down the road.
Since we are in Wisconsin and we have so much dairy products made here, it doesn't have to be shipped very far. So we have an advantage in our supper clubs being able to source high quality, great tasting, fresh products.
It's nice to make everything on the menu homemade and to be able to have the fresh ingredients. It just makes it better.
Fresh, regional ingredients make up the supper club menu. But what's on the plate for the main course comes down to history and which night you decide to dine. While drinks, relishes, bread and butter may be supper club traditions, it's the main course that steals the show. Each night has its own star. And on Friday, the spotlight falls on fish.
Friday at a supper club generally means fish fry.
Fish fry is one of my favorite customs, or culinary customs, if you will, in the state. It's one of these unusual situations where all kinds of things have come together to create the fish fry tradition. If you look at this state geographically, you see water everywhere.
Wisconsin has about 15,000 lakes. You know, we've got the Mississippi River. We've got 2 Great Lakes that we border on.
Our history is really about fishing. And of course, we have a historically large Catholic population. Catholics for many, many decades did not eat meat on Fridays. And then Prohibition also had an effect.
That's really when the Friday night fish fry began to really take off.
When taverns and bars could no longer serve alcohol during Prohibition, they needed to get people into the doors in some way. So they would offer free or very cheap meals of fish on a Friday or a Friday night, and whole Catholic families would come in. So then, of course, by the time Prohibition ended, we had kind of already gotten used to eating these fish fries.
Typically, you would be eating yellow perch, bluegill, walleye, a lot of local fish that people are familiar with. But when you go to your typical fish fry these days, you're probably going to be eating fish from outside of Wisconsin.
Kathy Klein is an education outreach specialist with the University of Wisconsin's Sea Grant Institute.
Our local fish supplies started to dwindle because of problems like overfishing, but also environmental problems in the Great Lakes and changes in the food web. A lot of invasive species moved in, and they've changed basically what's eating what.
The UW Sea Grant Institute is helping restore and maintain the health of Lake Michigan and the other Great Lakes.
The research that we're supporting is looking at what's going on in Lake Michigan and Lake Superior to our commercial fisheries. And then we're also supporting research to find out how to raise some of these typical fish that Wisconsin people like to eat. A good example is yellow perch. Yellow perch used to be a very common fish in Lake Michigan especially. So we've been working on this for several decades, and it's paying off. We've been partnering with Growing Power in Milwaukee. They've been raising yellow perch in aquaponics systems. Aquaponics is fish and plants living together in a closed system. Growing Power has been raising yellow perch with their plants. They sell their plants to local restaurants. They've also now been selling their fish to a local restaurant. So you can go now to a restaurant in Milwaukee on a Friday night and eat yellow perch that was grown right there in Milwaukee.
Fish may be a Friday tradition, but on Saturday nights, beef rules supreme.
Beef is king, and U.S. is king at beef.
Their steak or their prime rib. That's what defines them.
My favorite would probably be the steak in a skillet.
Big steaks, our New York strips, our bone and ribeye. Prime rib, we have phenomenal prime rib.
We brought back a 20-ounce cut prime rib.
The Emperor cut.
It's hard to go wrong. It's hard to go wrong with anything here.
Making the best steak possible means starting with the best meat possible.
If you don't have a nice piece of meat, then you're not getting a nice steak.
The higher quality, obviously, more tender, more flavor.
Marbling is very important. More marble, the better, definitely, more flavor.
The white specks of fat that's in the meat. Fat is really, really important for meat products because it provides flavor and juiciness.
Jeff Sindelar is an associate professor of